when we're talking about weight loss and weight gain, what do you see as the majority of the people who come to you? And then kind of like, how do you frame that discussion like out the gate? Because I know a lot of times when people come to me, the way they approach weight loss or whatever it is, they'll come in and say, I need to lose like 100 pounds, or I need to lose 50 pounds.
Okay.
And I think my opening kind of response to that often uh, is to try to move them in the direction of, I think, again, most people fail on their weight loss goals, right? Most people are perhaps not looking at it from the perspective of sustainability. With all that stuff in mind, how do you kind of like frame well, first of all, who do you see more of, weight loss or weight gain clients, and how do you kind of start that conversation?
Okay. Yeah, this is a really good one. And you're right. I think a lot of people struggle or fail on their weight loss journeys because they are so extreme. Like they're like, how am I going to lose that much weight? And I think I really get a mix of both. I would say generally in the world, I think more people are apt to reach out to a trainer where they're looking maybe to lose weight. I just have seen that quite a bit with women, I would say maybe more than men. But I do get quite a few women who want to gain muscle, like they want to build muscle. And I think part of that comes from like how beauty standards and society have changed quite a bit in the past few years. So I get a mix of both, but I would say generally on average, more women are looking to lose weight while gaining muscle versus just looking to put on muscle. And I think the biggest thing for me, it kind of goes back to like having your voice. Like when people reach out to me, they've already seen a little bit of my content. So they know that like, I'm very realistic. Like they know I'm not going to tell them like, here's how to lose 20 pounds in 20 days. Like that's not going to happen with me. And I'm very quick to tell them right off the bat, like, hey, that's a great goal, but we're going to be, realistic. And I want to make sure we find ways to make the weight loss last. I think I frame it for them in a way of like, hey, do you want this to last or do you want it to be quick and maybe not last? And I give them the choice. I'm like, you're going to pick one and then we're going to figure out how to go about it for you. So yeah, I think I just try to be real with them. Like, listen, I don't want to do this quick because I don't want you to gain the weight back. And let's do it a little bit slower. You'll enjoy your life a lot more along the way. And, that way you're going to learn how to do this right. And I tell them honestly, like my journey took 6 years. It did not take, 6 weeks, 6 months or anything like that. So I think progress photos help a lot with this too. I think showing them other clients' progress photos and being like, hey, in a year, this is what happened, not in 1 month. And they're like, oh, that's a lot. But like, yeah, there's still work to do. We can always be better. So yeah, every client takes it differently. But I think when you frame it that way, they are more, I guess, accepting of like the reality of it, at least in the beginning.
So we're talking about not necessarily what is optimal in terms of training, but just what is going to keep people going and get them consistent.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, I see it this way, and you can tell me if you see anything differently. Generally, when people start to build the right habits, the weight comes off. Like it just comes off without them having to try too hard. So when I spend the first 4 to 6 weeks with them working on the psychological aspects, tracking food if we need to do that, understanding like protein and different things, their different habits, more movement throughout their day. I kind of focus on more of that versus just like the numbers. And when they start to nail those habits without rushing into the weight loss aspect, they start to see weight loss coming as a result of that. And I think then they kind of understand like, oh, it's working. So let's keep doing what we're doing rather than like going super hard with them on the training. And it just feels like too much too fast. So I don't know your experience. Have you had like a similar experience with that? But that's kind of what I've seen with like taking it a bit slower and kind of what's come out of it with them.
Yeah, I would say I think a lot of it has to do with kind of like how it's framed out the gate, because usually I'm sure you've had people come to you with this request or similar requests of, I need to lose X amount of weight by X date for X reason. Like example, I need to lose 30 pounds in 30 days for my wedding. I need to lose 20 pounds by January 1st for this vacation I'm going on, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you had clients come to you with things like that, like straight out the gate. Sometimes just random people messaging you on Instagram saying that, right?
Yes, literally, yes.
Yeah. And for me, like my goal of working with a person like that is I want to like that time period of like whatever short period of time it is, and it's not because this is like my goal and I'm like, oh, I'm deviously plotting my goal here, right? It's like because this is what is actually going to be best for this person like 99% of the time, is to shift that person's mindset toward what do we have to do to empower you to be able to do this on your own after 90 days or 60 days or
Yeah.
30 days, whatever that short period of time is, or do the best job I can to get you on like an upward trajectory under your own volition, if that makes sense. So
Okay.
I find that starting out from a perspective of like, I need to do X amount of thing in X period of time, it doesn't work because it's completely arbitrary. Like whatever weight goal number or weight loss number you're coming up with, or like I want to do 30 push-ups or whatever, it's, you might be seriously underselling yourself, or you might be giving yourself a goal that's just not even possible given
Yeah.
your current available resources. So like I guess this is like a really long way of me saying like you really got to like meet the client where they're at. Like that's, and if that it involves like, their training being suboptimal, to be honest, like that's fine because it's just like you slowly kind of move them in the direction toward more optimal than where they currently are. Does that make sense?
So do you mean like you would help them get the weight loss off quicker, or do you mean like you would have them shift to be like, let's take it slower? Where are you kind of like leading with that in the very beginning?
It's very client dependent because it's like if I have someone who's like I've lost, like especially if it's someone who's trying to like achieve like a very large amount of weight loss in a short period of
Yeah.
time and they're like I've tried multiple times before, I would try and steer them away from fast weight loss. But
Yeah.
for example, like if it's someone who is like a my one friend who was like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu competitor, right? And had me train him for a bit, and he's like, I need to lose a specific amount of weight by this specific date for this
Yeah.
competition. And I've done similar stuff before. I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to show you a more efficient way to get there. Right.
Yeah. That's fair.
So
Yeah.
it's really, really client dependent.
It's very okay. It's very mindset dependent too. I'll tell you this. I think people that come in, um, there's two types of clients that come in. I think there's clients who come in and they've tried every single diet and they're very highly affected by like diets in general. They don't work for them. There's a lot of like, I almost want to say like psychological baggage with it. With those clients, no matter what they need to do, I have to take it slower with them. I have to shift them away from what they've always thought about as a diet in the past and move them into more of like a healthy mindset with training and food in order for them to actually be successful in general so that they don't fall off and it actually works. But when I get a client who's coming in with a bit like, I want to say almost like less experience with it, and they're just more like, I want to say like moderate with the whole idea, and they're just, they don't have a lot of baggage with it. I can do things a little bit quicker with them because they're not as affected by like dieting, diet culture, things like that. And I actually see that that's fine with them. And I'll see, like, I had a girl come in. This was one extreme. I had a bride came in and she was like, my dress doesn't fit. I have to lose 2 sizes in, I think it was like 6 weeks. I mean, it was really crazy. And with that type of client, I was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. Nail it. We got 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, we're taking it back a notch. And she was like, yes, that's fine. And we did it. We hit the goal, but it was like, she had to train a lot with me and she had to be really like regimented. And that was a very specific goal for sure. We'll do that. But then I usually tell people like, let's not do that again. Like,
Yeah.
let's take that back from there, So you're right. It depends on the client, depends where they're coming from and what they need. Like if they don't have a deadline, I'm not going to put a deadline on them. I'm not going to put that pressure on them or on myself because it's really up to them. Like, in the end of the day, they're the ones who are showing up. They're the ones who have to put in the work, when they're with me and when they're not with me. So I tell them like, it's kind of how you're going to choose to live your life, in the whole process of it. But yeah, there's very client dependent.